Hey, thanks for joining me. This is probably going to be an awkward first video, or maybe the awkwardness will never go away. I've been meaning to create some sort of mental health journal or diary it's been on my mind for a long while. And initially I was going to make it as an audio because it's so much easier to not be on camera, and I've been doing a podcast for quite a while, and it just feels there's a little bit of kind of a buffer when you're doing something in audio form. But my brother said to me that no, I think you should do video. I think people will be able to relate to you, and of course there's a different type of interaction when you're seeing somebody, and especially talking about like mental health, kind of those important matters, and some of the most personal for each of us. And it's worked out well, I think, if you're seeing this, if it's uploaded okay, because I don't really have I kind of wanted to create something that's quite raw, just literally like pressing record and then hitting stop and uploading. So it's kind of worked out well. I don't have to edit, and which is not something I would want to do. So kind of wanted to create content or stuff to make it as easiest for myself as possible. Maybe I'll do like a live stream as well. I'm not sure. It's all quite new. Maybe that's easier to do than recording and uploading, but I guess there's the element of it's meant to be for interacting and people asking questions, so maybe recording beforehand will be less overwhelming. I kind of wanted to just have as it says in the title, I guess, just a diary, some sort of recording or some sort of outlet to express stuff I'm going through, or things I wanted to talk about. So I've been dealing with my mental health for so where are we now? Probably, I guess, more severely for the last 10 years. You can never really know when kind of certain symptoms and things came up early on, even though I'm going to kind of give labels and things like that, for me, my personal belief, it's more of a way to relate and communicate. So, because we've got all these symptoms that go with different types of kind of mental health challenges. So I don't want to kind of list it and say this is like who I am, because my personal belief is we are not those labels. We're just dealing with the challenges, but it's just a way of communicating, an easy way of building a bridge instead of listing all of our symptoms. And I thought that's quite important, because it's so easy to almost program ourselves to become that, the labels that we say, when really it's just a word or a sound, and sometimes it can take on its own weight and meaning when there's certain challenges with that. So that's kind of initially I guess self-diagnosed with depression and anxiety. It's really strange of getting diagnosed with mental health, because it's almost you've got to fight for it. So I haven't really been, like, I guess, officially diagnosed with those things, but it's pretty obvious and clear, as I'm sure, if you're in that position. But yeah, recently there's been like other symptoms I've been dealing with, such as not being able to articulate yourself. So that explains this video. If you're watching and thinking, so maybe I may have should have said that up front to do myself a favor. So if I do sound confused or so that's one of the things, and it's even something as simple as a text message to respond to somebody. It just takes such an energy to think about the words and write what you want to say to that person, how you feel, even if it's a simple message of someone asking if they want to see you, if you want to meet up, or maybe there's a bit of like OCD in that as well, of not knowing how you've come across or obsessing over that, of how you're sounding. And there's been a symptom of sensitivity as well, where I've been really sensitive to sounds, loud noises, especially, for instance, if there's like a real intense conversation going on close to me, that can just drain me so much. And I guess it's hard to describe all of the symptoms, but I'm gonna speak to a doctor about these symptoms that correlate with autism, and also complex PTSD, which I didn't know what it was until recently, and that really seems to fit with what I've been going through, on top of the depression and anxiety as well. It's quite a funny thing. I recently started counselling again, and that kind of first session of literally where it's going to be awkward and you just ask loads of questions about your life just to get a big picture. And I must have mentioned about my sensitivity to the therapist, and she goes, are you on the spectrum? I must have mentioned other symptoms as well, which is she probably put 2 and 2 together. And I said no, and it's somehow come up before as well, that diagnosis of autism or being on the spectrum. And recently I came across an article about autism in adults, and that again just took on a bit of a momentum. So I kind of took action and wrote like a long explanation to the doctor saying, I'm experiencing all of these symptoms, and kind of gave examples as well with each of the symptoms, and said, it seems to correlate with autism, and can I get help with understanding of what's the next steps, or what can I do with this? But again, it feels like you're having to fight for it, like almost trying to convince somebody that you need help. And the way I kind of wrote it was that I just want to get a clearer understanding, especially because I'm in receiving of universal credit as well, which I feel like it's its own, it can be its own series of videos, that whole journey of universal credit and trying to speak up for yourself and your health. And so a lot of it ties in with that as well, because one of the hardest things for me, I mentioned about articulating myself, but especially when it comes to my health, it's almost inaccessible to try and explain to somebody, especially somebody who's assessing you, who likely doesn't have much of a mental health background, i.e. universal credit, it can be really tricky to try and speak up and explain, why you can't wash the dishes or why you can't, shower some days. And it almost reminds me of the example of like you're on the stand in court and someone's like yelling at you saying you've committed all these crimes, and you're trying to say, no, I haven't, I've not done it. And it's like nobody's listening. You just, there's nothing more you can say. There's almost a suffocation feeling with that. So I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's more of the case where you're trying to speak up for yourself, but you're, somebody's stopping you, or you're not allowed to, and to get across that you need help. It's one of the hardest things. So I'd imagine, at least this video for sure is going to be really jumbled and probably going to go back and forth and stuff. And the idea generally is just to use this just to check in as much as I'm able to or want to, whether it's a short video if I'm on the go, like if I'm in a car or somewhere outside, I can record a little video and upload it. So it's, so I want it to be really flexible as well, so it's kind of stress-free, because it's quite another stressor dealing with, content creation and having either a schedule or routine, or how many times you want to upload. And, if any of you out there who are content creators, I'm sure you can relate to the stress of that. And so I'm waiting for the doctor to contact me about autism, and I'm going to mention to them also about complex PTSD. And it's going to be a really hard phone call, because it almost feels like, again, I'm trying to convince the doctor of this or that. And there's always this paranoia because I'm in the universal credit process, so it almost feels like I'm kind of already under suspicion, or I'm trying to make more things up to stay in this process, which I think somebody said to me recently that why would you do that? Because it's such a stressful process going through universal credit. And I've been kind of in their system for a couple of years now, I think, and it's been incredibly difficult. Talking about universal credit, I've got an appointment on the 31st of December, and I'm not going to probably talk about that too much, because I've kind of made up my mind that I'll just deal with that on the week of that appointment. Any preparation I need to do, I can do that beforehand. And I guess preparation meaning, like writing down symptoms and difficulties. And I guess I don't know what the appointment's about. I'm not sure. I think it's, I think I'm in the work capability group, and it's a bit frustrating because they were going to reassess me, because I kind of mentioned to them that my health's getting worse, and it's more of a struggle for me day to day. And initially that was going to happen, but now I'm guessing it's not. And I've been through like 4 or 5 I think you call them work coaches or job coaches. And some of them have been really great, actually. Had a few work coaches who seemed really understanding and really kind of empathetic, and that goes a long way when you've had lots of people who've not been like that. And unfortunately, the latest work coach I've had has moved on. maybe that's, I don't know if that's to do with, I can imagine it's probably a very stressful job to be a work coach, and I don't know if there's like a high turnover in that kind of job area. But so lots of unknowns about this December 31st, but I'm maybe going to prepare what I want to say and what help I need. So I can imagine, naturally in a meeting they'll have an agenda of, okay, they're going to do this, this and this, but hopefully I just want to talk to them before that happens and not be forced to, I guess, make them aware of where I'm at the moment and to see what help they can give me. And yeah, perhaps I'll talk more about universal credit another time. I don't really want to talk too much about that stuff all in one go. So the main theme recently is of talking more on what I'm kind of currently going through. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to deal with those diagnoses or figure out if that's something that I'm going through with autism and complex PTSD. Complex PTSD for sure feels like what I've been through. Yeah, maybe I can just deal with that step by step, because already I'm kind of feeling that it's going to be a difficult process to figure out a diagnosis or what can come from the symptoms I'm giving the doctor on that side of things. And yeah, I think generally it's really tough, because it's almost internally I'm screaming for help, but it's so hard to vocalize that unless you're in a critical state. Like if you have a mental breakdown and you're in A&E, then it's clear that, oh yeah, what's going on, what symptoms, and it feels like I don't want to get to that stage to get help. So that's a difficult thing. So even writing to a doctor about those about autism, it feels like it took a huge effort to do that. And yeah, perhaps we'll see what comes from that as well. Yeah, so recently I've been dealing with like loads of uncertainty in my life. Yeah, it's hard to know where to start with that. Perhaps I can start small with just day-to-day things. Yeah, it's really hard to manage my time day to day, and there's obviously the kind of healthy activities that one can do that often comes up in CBT, which is something I've been through several times, and like going out, getting fresh air, social interaction, having some some sort of like pleasurable activities as well. I think it's in kind of your activity diary, it's called. So, and yeah, I've been struggling a lot to carry out the CBT stuff. It's just been like, as much as I've tried, it's just not been something I've been able to do. I can take certain things from some books I've read and the courses I've done, such as like the 5-minute rule, which I really find that useful. Forgotten where I was going with this. I was talking about uncertainty in my life. So yeah. So I used to, since my early 20s, I had started writing fiction. So along with me doing a degree, and I think I was just really bored of my studies. I was doing IT, so for any IT people out there, you probably enjoy IT. So but But for me, it was just felt like a safe industry to go into. So I started writing fiction, getting into reading first, and then writing fiction. And recently, in the last few years, it's been getting more difficult to keep that up, more mentally draining, and I wanted to sort of deepen in the craft of writing, and my mind wouldn't let me. It seemed to be breaking down more and more. So it became like I've always wanted to write, and I still do, but it's frustrating when you can't sort of write to your capabilities or improve and grow. It becomes unfulfilling when you can't do that. So that used to be like my main focus, especially for someone, when I've not been working. So it's almost its own challenge when you're not working, to deal with your health and things you can do. So that used to be a big kind of, even if some days I didn't write, but it's almost there was some sort of security there, some focus. And now I've kind of made a decision, or it kind of made itself almost to put writing down. I'm not sure if that's going to be permanent, but as kind of my mind became more sort of dysfunctional, that's what I decided to do. And it was, maybe I'm still coming to terms with that because it's such a huge decision. Maybe some of the uncertainty is just letting things settle and finding my way a bit more. In that kind of process, I've written, several novels, and haven't been published, but maybe I think I've got like a short story published somewhere. But just the aspiration of, sending the novels off to agents. And I'm kind of, before I stopped writing, I was almost at the end of editing my current novel, it was frustrating because I was trying, should I push myself to finish this? And, my health just became that bad where I thought, as much as I want to, because it's a personal novel about mental health and, semi-autobiographical in some ways. So I really wanted to get this one done and send it off to agents and see what happens. But it's just, I was not able to do that. So maybe that in itself is a big change in my life. It's a funny thing about this being unedited, so hopefully I'll get used to a little bit of silence and perhaps me just taking my time and what to say and not feeling like I have to fill every moment of the video, and moments of contemplation, let's call that. So I'm still creating, although I'm not writing. I've got another podcast I'm doing, which is about sort of my journey into being present. More kind of the common popular term, or a popular word for it, is mindfulness. People use mindfulness quite a lot, but so it's kind of my journey into that, like living a life in that way. So I've got a podcast there I've been doing for a couple of years, and it's really kind of lo-fi and stress-free. I literally just plug in a mic at the bottom of my phone, and I'm not sure if it actually even makes a difference saying that. because it's not like a really expensive mic, it's just like a small lapel mic, and it's probably just as good as the mic on this phone, maybe. And yeah, I just literally record and upload, and yeah, I've been uploading to YouTube with that as well. And which is why hopefully this will be easier with this process of me recording like a video on my phone. So I think I literally just hit, I go to the YouTube app and upload, I think, directly from there. With like uploading an audio file to YouTube, you kind of have to create it into a video, and you've got to kind of go through a little bit of a process before you can upload it. So I'm grateful I don't have to do that here. So yeah, I'm doing the podcasting, and now I'm potentially doing this if this not sure how long, or even if I'll upload this video. Things are that uncertain. I don't know what's what anymore, but yeah, I've just been I guess recently it's been a struggle to do anything. Like, I won't show you my kitchen, which I can see from here. It's like I did do one load of dishes, but there's like another load on the side collecting, and just the basic stuff like cooking and things like that. I've just been worried about myself. I haven't been able to take care of myself in that way. So it used to be the case of where eventually a day would come along where I'd feel super motivated, and I think, yeah, I can get all this done, and like whether it's cleaning the place, hoovering and doing that. But recently those days haven't come, so it's been longer and longer stretches of just not being able to do stuff, which has been a bit worrying for me. So yeah, perhaps I can share a bit about just, I know we're talking in big kind of, talking in like an overview of stuff generally, but perhaps it's nice to talk about my day as well. So yeah, I did do one load of dishes today, which was great. I can now see my sink, which is sometimes it's not so great because you're dealing with what's left under there. For those, if you've had dishes in there for a long while, it's not nice having to clean out the sink as well. But, yeah, I'm looking to actually do the dishes. I was tempted to pan around, but I won't. The dishes on the side, I'm gonna make it, I feel I've got a little bit of energy and I want to just tackle that, so I'm not always behind, and hopefully it'll make me feel better. I live in like a really small space, so I live in like an annex. So it's, I guess, the closest thing that's like a studio. So I've got my bed just there, and I've got a small living space here, and the kitchen's just on my left. So yeah, that would be great if I can. If I do the dishes, I think that would really help. Yeah, I went for a walk today as well. It was really tough to get myself out. I've been struggling with the darkness and the cold. I struggle to get out anyway, so the darkness and cold just add to that. And yeah, a lot of my anxiety is social anxiety, so it's not even, it's not just interactions and that sort of stuff, but just passing people by, or like, for instance, if it's like really like loads of narrow streets where you've got to wait for someone to pass you by, and like I find that quite stressful. So I was kind of deciding where to walk. I live there's a park quite close by, so I kind of walked a little bit in that, and then I know I needed a bit of a longer walk because I've not been eating great the last couple of days. So I just ended up walking, in a neighborhood and found some hills to walk up. But as I was walking on the main road, there was just like so many exhaust fumes, and that's something that's recently been another thing that I've been noticing, where it's like exhaust fumes haven't just suddenly appeared. So what's changed about that for me? It must be either my sensitivity to like those fumes. I'm not sure if that's a symptom, or I've just noticed it more. But yeah, I was trying to avoid that. But it's, even in quiet streets, it's hard to avoid. Like if a car accelerates close to you, then there's going to be a big sort of exhaust fumes everywhere you are. So it's hard to avoid. So yeah, maybe I could acknowledge myself for walking. And the primary motivation for getting out was to upload my podcast, because I didn't get great reception in here, so uploading can take a while. So as soon as I went outside, I was able to upload it, which is good. Yeah, maybe recording this, I can acknowledge that. It's, it's hard to, when you're in the middle of something and doing it, it's hard to see that the value or the effort it takes, unless someone points out to you, that, oh, it's not easy to talk on camera or put yourself out there. I find it's really difficult for myself to acknowledge stuff like that when I'm like, for this, in some ways I can recognize, it's not easy to do, but it's hard to give yourself credit or to acknowledge stuff that you do for yourself or that you've done. I find that really difficult to do. So perhaps I can acknowledge that I'm doing something creative and hopefully healthy, and yeah, maybe in some ways, if this helps others, if you're listening as well, and whatever way this content helps you, then yeah, I hope it can. Which is one of the motivations of doing this. Is, it's nice. It's probably helped me to kind of express stuff and talk about things, and but a real big reason is to share and connect, and hopefully for others not to feel alone, and in that way. So it's kind of early evening here. Yeah, it's probably good to have dinner, even though, like I said, I've been eating like not great. Maybe I'll say what I had, but I kind of ordered a large Greg's order of like their pizza slices, and I used to suffer a lot I still do, I guess, with binge eating, and stuff like that, and I wouldn't kind of maybe label this or make it sound as serious as that. I think I was feeling like it was difficult for me to get outside, and so I've kind of been full up on lots of bread, I guess. So yeah, maybe sort out something for tonight. I may just even have like a big bowl of porridge. I think that may help, because I did eat quite a lot this afternoon, lots of those slices. So maybe some of that would be good for me this evening. And plus, I don't have much in the fridge, so it kind of narrows that down. So perhaps have something like that tonight, and maybe relax to watch a film. I've been struggling to do that quite a lot recently. It's strange, because I like the idea of watching a film and something being comfortable, but then there's something about the length of movies and the time commitment. It's just hard to get myself settled down and to press play. If it's like a 20-minute YouTube video, then it's so easy. I could watch 100 of those, but but it's a big chunk of time. It feels like a commitment to do that. So maybe I can kind of plan on a time to watch something and just watch it, because it can be one of these things that's really relaxing to do when you're kind of consciously watching something, and especially when you haven't watched a movie in a while, so it's something a little bit kind of fresh and you're doing it consciously, and for me in like a kind of healthy way. And what I may do as well, I'm tempted to kind of go outside again to upload this potentially, or I may do it tomorrow, I'm not sure. But yeah, so maybe just watch something, have some porridge, that sounds good. And yeah, it's important for me to go to bed at a good time and sleep. I could probably do talk about a whole video on sleep. And for me, I'm like a sensitive sleeper, so I get super exhausted if I don't get, even like an average sleep. It can affect so many things, like getting sinuses or headaches, or affecting my mood a lot. So when I aim, usually my sleep time is about 10:30, and then I usually wake up about 8 o'clock in the morning. So that would be good to do that. It's like 36 minutes. So I'm hoping I can upload this. Not sure how YouTube really works, to be honest, besides clicking watch and skipping ads and watching content, but we'll see. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I will see you again in another video, maybe. See how this goes. All right, take care. Bye.